everybody, welcome to my February reading wrap-up. I have read about, I think it was 5 books in February. I read 5 books in January, so I'm on track for my 50 books Goodreads challenge so far. My March reading so far is looking to be slightly heftier books, so I'm going to have to get a move on if I want to keep up my excellent progress so far. Over February I've read some longer books, some shorter books, some confusing books, and some deeply sensible books. Book 1 that I read was an audiobook on Audible. It was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, which I found incredibly confusing, I must admit. I had no idea what was going on for the first about 2 hours of my listening experience. But that said, it was an incredibly interesting book. I've actually written a whole blog about it, so I'll link to that in the description. Very engaging. I sent it to a friend, so I did enjoy it, because if I hadn't enjoyed it I wouldn't have given it as a gift. Said friend gave me Susanna Clarke's first book, which I've got on the big bookshelf behind me. Susanna Clarke's first book is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, that's it. Which is a tome about this thick, it's about 1,000 pages. Piranesi, thankfully, is quite a bit shorter, but Clarke has an incredible way with prose. It's very beautifully written, even if the plot is confusing as all heck. My second book that I read, which I'm actually going to do a whole separate video of, is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. I'm doing a video about this as part of my grand idea that I'm going to learn about the counties of England through reading books that are set primarily in those counties. So now I've read it, I just need to wait until I'm allowed to go and have adventures in Essex and see, exactly how far Essex has come in the 130 years since this book was set. Obviously I'm expecting lots of great changes, and perhaps I should have chosen a more recent novel to base my impressions of Essex on. However, what I can see from this book is that some parts of it have quite a lot of natural beauty and quite a lot of interest that I'm looking forward to exploring. So watch this space for a whole video just about The Essex Serpent. The next book I read was Excellent Woman by Barbara Pym. It's kind of like Kazuo Ishiguro's The Remains of the Day meets P.G. Wodehouse, but with quite a feminine twist to it. I'm going to read you the blurb. So, I suppose an unmarried woman, just over 30, who lives alone and has no apparent ties, must expect to find herself involved or interested in other people's business. And if she is also a clergyman's daughter, then one might really say there is no hope for her. Mildred Lathbury is one of those excellent women who are often taken for granted. She is a godsend, capable of dealing with the most stock situations, or even the great moments of life. Birth, marriage, death, the successful jumble sale, the garden fete spoiled by bad weather. Her glamorous new neighbours, the Napiers, seem to be facing a marital crisis. One cannot take sides in these matters, although it is tricky, especially as Mildred has a soft spot for dashing young Rockingham Napier. This is Barbara Pym's world at its funniest and most touching. So I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It's relatively skinny. I read it in pretty much one sitting. I read 6 pages the night before, and then the next day was Saturday, and I basically just sat on the couch and read it. It was delightful, engaging, full of wry humour, full of subtly observed comments on human life. There's a little bit of sort of church community humour, so if you grew up in a relatively, in a good Anglican community, then you'll probably find bits of it to make you smile. Kind of think Vicar of Dibley meets P.G. Wodehouse meets, I don't know, almost Bridget Jones? I don't know. Anyway, I loved it. Barbara Pym is a novelist who has written a fair amount, and people like Alexander McCall Smith and Philip Larkin praised her as an underrated novelist, so maybe I should get my hands on a little bit more Barbara Pym. There's also No Fond Return of Love and Some Tame Gazelle, which are other books that are on the back cover of this one to recommend me. It's a Virago Modern Classic, this edition. I quite like the sort of posterized cover art. I think it's great. You've got Mrs. Napier, who's not very good at household chores, her dashing husband Rockingham, and dear Mildred, who, you know, comes through life and is the person who's always available to solve all the problems, including doing things like waiting for the moving men to arrive to collect Rockingham's stuff when he's moved out of their marital abode. Anyway, so that was quite a lot of fun. My next book that I read was, I think that same evening, it was The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse, which is a prime gift book. Like, there are very few gift books that are as gift booky as this. I've written in my notes, maybe the ultimate sort of gift book, and it was given to me as a gift by my very lovely mother. I kind of feel like it's a book for people who miss the life lessons and philosophy of The Little Prince, but it's also not a big thick book that's got lots of words. It's a lot of illustrations, and beautiful illustrations remind me of E.H. Shepard, who illustrated Winnie the Pooh. Like, the little boy in this book looks a lot like Christopher Robin from E.H. Shepard, and I really enjoy that. There's quite a lot of beautiful use of line. The book itself looks like it's handwritten by an ink pen, so it has, and in places it does actually have authorial comment that the dog had run over this particular page, so had a little paw prints on it. So it's really, really lovely. I was anticipating that it was a book, not a picture book, so I sat down to read it, and it surprised me that sort of 25 minutes later I'd absorbed and loved several pages of it. All of the pages of it, in fact. It's got sort of wisdom and timeless interactions, friendship between humans and animals. It was flipping everywhere in all the bookshops when last I was actually in big physical bookshops that were selling new books, so around Christmas 2019 at this point. There were piles of it. It would have been a very good Christmas gift. I want to read you two little scraps of Mole's philosophy. "Do you have a favourite saying?" asked the boy. "Yes," said the Mole. "What is it?" "If at first you don't succeed, have some cake." "I see. Does it work?" "Every time." Other little saying, also from the Mole, much wisdom. "I've learned how to be in the present." "How?" asked the boy. "I find a quiet spot and shut my eyes and breathe." "That's good. And then?" "Then I focus." "What do you focus on?" "Cake," said the Mole. The last book I read in February was a graphic novel, Relish, by Lucy Knisley, whose name I had to purposely misspell so I pronounce it right in this video. She's a much beloved cartoonist and drawer of cats on the internet, such as Linny, her beloved ginger cat, who was a Victorian lady who cried "whoa" a lot, and she and her family currently have a big grey cat that looks a little bit like a Russian blue, who speaks like Bertie Wooster. So Relish is her graphic novel. It's a graphic novel for people who love food. It's all about food. It's got incredible graphic recipes in it. It's got stories of her life and how she came to love food and how she navigated the challenges of being a child of parents who were divorced, and her coming of age and her navigation of different cultures. It's a really incredible, very honest feeling book. It's quite naive, which I like. It's definitely a book that's easy to dip in and out of. I got it for Christmas from my sister-in-law, who's also a big fan of Lucy's. And should we say Knisley? She's a proper author after all. I feel like I know her because I follow her on Instagram. And Lucy's got another account that's called the Condiment Raccoon account, and my sister-in-law sent me this book and a Condiment Raccoon apron, which is obviously my favourite kitchen garment. Yeah, it was a good book to read. It's something that I can dip in and out of when I feel the need to be inspired. It meant that I had to decide to make myself sushi on New Year's Eve, which I did. It took a very long time and wasn't quite as good as sushi that you can buy in shops or at proper sushi restaurants, but that's okay, I'm learning and that's part of the journey. So taking both Mole's excellent philosophy about cake and Lucy Knisley's excellent book about all the foods you could possibly ever eat, I think I'm gonna have some cake. And by the magic of video editing, cake seems like a good thing to focus on when the world's all a bit crazy. Keep well, and if you've got any other suggestions for what other books to read about food, life, the universe and everything, put them down in the comments. You can like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!